Hello and welcome to the Verity channel, where our aim is to bring you individuals who have achieved uncommon results in life and to speak to them and ask them what they did to achieve those results so that we can also implement those results in our lives in a way that makes perfect sense. Now, today on the show, we've got Mr. Eric Bailey, who is the author of 2 books, ex-professional basketball player and also public speaker who, as far as I'm aware, has changed the lives of up to 4.5 million people in his speaking career to date. His life didn't start off in this way because Eric was actually born with a debilitating bone disease, which led medical practitioners saying to him that he may not walk, let alone run. And if that wasn't enough, he was also abandoned at a young age when his parents actually put him up for adoption. However, Eric's life changed again when he went to school, and a basketball coach at his school took him under his wings and taught him the power of thinking about what is possible, not what is in the past. And it was this change that saw Eric not only finish his career at school, but also gain a scholarship for basketball, which saw him kicking off his professional career, which spanned an astonishing 12 years. And not only that, but even more astonishing in my mind, he also went through 9 knee surgeries during that same time. As he got to the end of that professional career, he started putting energy back into himself with a view of giving back to the world through the form of public speaking. And that set him off in his career, where he's to date spoken to establishments like the NBA, Qantas, and Suncorp. Here today at Verity to talk about his latest book, Going for Gold. Welcome, Eric. Good to see you and good to have you on the show, mate.
Thank you very much.
So, Going for Gold. What is the tagline for the book again? Just remind me.
Going for gold, living your personal best.
Fantastic. Well, let's start with that. So what set you off on the journey to actually write the book, and also who's it aimed towards?
Well, actually, in 2012, I actually started to write the book. But I did what most people normally do, is talk yourself out of a good idea because of excuses. And it wasn't until 2020 when COVID hit. And it was probably the lowest period of my life. A 37-year marriage breakup. 85% of my income was taken away because the borders were closed, because I do travel around the world speaking. I gained 35 pounds, anxiety, depression, and feeling as if there was no hope.
That wasn't in the bio. Wow. That in itself is a journey just there.
Yeah.
Wow.
And the other thing about it was on November 26, 2020, I turned 60 years of age. I know what you're thinking. You can't be 60, right?
I was looking forward to that anyway.
Thank you very much. And I moved into my new facility, which is a townhouse. And I was sitting in there and I was thinking, your entire life, you have been kicked to the curb and told what you can't do. It's a defining moment in your life. You got 2 choices. Feel sorry for yourself, be a victim, or kick yourself in the butt and look what's ahead. So I decided to take out that manuscript and finish off the book. And in the book, I've just chronologically put the things that I needed to do to get myself out of the funk, to get me into thrive mode. And here I am now talking to you, and brother, I'm thriving.
Fantastic. So was it COVID that, I guess, the journey that you went through, reshaping your thoughts in your own mind, that then made you go, okay, well, I've got to share this with the rest of the world, and the best way of doing it is through this book, which you already had mostly written, I'd imagine, at that stage?
No, actually, it wasn't mostly written. It was maybe like a quarter written. But what I went through with COVID, it just unlocked all of the things that I knew that I needed to do to get out of this. And talking to a lot of my friends, on Facebook or in America, and they were telling me some of the things that were happening into their lives, marriage breakdown, suicide, mental stress, loss of finance. Hey, that's me. That's what I'm going through. So if I'm going through that and I'm a motivational speaker and I'm supposed to have all the answers, imagine the person out there who maybe doesn't have that kind of mindset that I have. What would it be like if I could give them or share with them some of the things that I'm doing that's helping me? And that's why I wrote the book.
No, well said. Look, mental health is something we'll talk about in a minute, but it's certainly something that's come up on the radar for most people and most even organizations looking after their staff, due to the fact that we're all working from home and all operate in isolation a lot more through COVID than we have ever before. So we'll get back to that in a minute. I want to ask you, because I read the book and you had an interesting retake on what we all know as SMART goals.
Right.
What was your take on it? And tell us a bit more about that. Yeah.
Look, my entire life, it's always been specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, time bound. And I've seen so many people that start to finish this. And even in my life, I've set some goals and never been able to sustain and get to the end. So I started thinking, what would be a different way to look at SMART goals, and how could you reclaim that? How could an HR manager, or how could a sales manager, or how could a CEO, how could they look at how they could maybe switch or transform the way that companies set goals or the way individuals? And I thought, okay, you can still use the SMART, but what if you change the words? Okay, being an ex-professional athlete, I knew how important it is to really think before you actually set out on the goal. So I thought with the S, seasonal. Your goals need to be approach seasonal, meaning every quarter or every couple of months of the year, look at that goal and say, you know what, maybe we should just refocus or twinkle that, put some more thought into it. And the M, okay, is all about, you know what, it's got to be meaningful. If your goal doesn't scare you, if it doesn't cause you to wake up in the middle of the night and be sweating and feel a sense of euphoria, if it doesn't make you look forward to getting up the next day, and when you tell somebody your goal and they just go, oh, that sounds good, then really, you're not going to really push yourself, okay? And A, oh my goodness. A, it's got to be big, man. It's got to be audaciously big. It's got to be so big that it's got to actually scare you to the point, And R, come on, man. You know what the R is, don't you?
You tell me, I'm not sure.
Come on, you know what the R is.
Realistic, I thought it was?
No, not realistic. Come on, not realistic. You got to be reflective.
Ah, okay.
What does reflective mean? It means you have to think about all of the things, good and bad, that's going to come along as you're on the journey. Before you start that goal, you have to think about, who do I have to stay away from? What things I should not be putting into my body? What are type of things I should be doing? How much reading should I be doing? Like think about all the things that you to make the body and the mind ready to tackle the challenge. And the last one, time honored. You got to honor your time.
What do you mean?
Okay, so when you're going for a goal, every second, every minute, every week, every month matters. So you have to honor the minutes, the seconds, the months, the weeks that you have. You have to make sure that the time you're putting into are productive. Don't waste your time doing the things that are not going to give you the good results. So when you honor your time, chances are you're going to spend more time doing the good stuff than you are going to doing the bad stuff.
It's interesting you use the word honor, so that gives me to think two things straight away. So respect the time that you have, and celebrate the time that you have.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And celebrate the wins. No matter how big the wins are, even if they're that small, celebrate those because they're all a part of the build-up to get to the end.
You said something there before, and I won't get the exact wording, but you got me thinking, be careful who you spend the time with. I think it was when you mentioned reflect.
Yeah. Reflect. Yeah. So the whole reflection, so you're going to start your goal, okay? Before you put the time into the goal, one of the major things that people do is they go and just tell everybody. And when you tell the wrong people what you're attempting to do, most of the time they come back with a negative response. Or they say, why would you want to be doing that? Oh, that's a lot of work. Why would you want to do that? If you limit the amount of negativity that you're getting when you start your journey, chances are you're going to tell the right people who are going to support you, and it's going to get you off to a start.
You're right, and it goes back to the whole mental health piece, right? So the biggest asset that we've all got in our lives is the space between our ears.
Yeah.
And so we're constantly being bombarded with everything from advertising, comments from friends, the news, et cetera, and especially during COVID, there was a lot of negativity out there. So what I took out of what you said is safeguarding that space, being our biggest asset to get the outcome that we want.
Right. With mental health, when you admit to yourself that there are some triggers that actually trigger you into that dark space, when you can identify those triggers, and as soon as those triggers come, you counter that with something positive or switch the conversation in your head about something that's more pleasant or more happy, it kind of counterbalances so that you sort of feel a little bit better about yourself, and then you can go out and you can start your day.
I love it. So one of the things you mentioned earlier as well got me thinking, one of our leadership coaches at Verity, Grant Dwarf from Exec Force, he talked about during COVID, planning had to be 24/7.
Right.
So every 24 hours, you need to be planning and replanning 7 days ahead. And a lot of what you said there before, and again, is what I think is what you were saying towards the start of SMART goals kind of goes to that as well. Seasonal, that's what it was. So thinking seasonally, and so in business, we set goals annually or targets or whatever you want to call them, and then we tend to review them each quarter.
Not enough.
Bingo. I was just going to say, it sounds like it, right? And there's a personal side of things as well on top of that, which kind of lends itself to seasonal as well.
Yeah. My thoughts on that is anyone who's going through a hard time or going through some difficulties or some challenges, what you need to do is you need to actually have a really good routine. And your routine, yes, you might have to start it where it has to be scripted. It has to be in front of you. It has to be something that you have to connect to on a daily basis. Because once you have that routine and you get that down pat, it's not a routine anymore. You know what it is now, right? It's a habit. You breathe, you blink, you brush your teeth, you shower. You do that without thinking, right? So I liken it to muscle memory. So I'll give you an example. So a kid challenged me to shoot 3-point shots at a school a couple weeks ago. I'm 60 years of age. I haven't shot a ball in 2 years. And he said, listen, I don't
know if I believe that, by the way. In 2 years.
It's on Facebook.
Is that right?
Oh,
but 2 years ago since the last time?
Yeah, I haven't shot a basketball, right?
Okay.
So he challenges me. I haven't picked up the ball. So I said to him, okay, we'll shoot. First one to 3 will win. I hit 3 in a row. Place goes crazy. He says to me, how did you do that? And I said, because when I was your age, I shot 1,000 jump shots every single day, all the way into the day I retired. So every time I pick up the ball, my mind, my body is in tune with the shot. It just comes because I've conditioned and programmed. Same thing with where we are right now. If you have a routine and you do it over and over and over again, then it just happens without you thinking.
Totally agree.
Which eliminates stress.
Totally agree. No, well said, mate. Fantastic advice. So one of the other things that COVID has significantly affected is the way that we interact with each other as human beings, whether it be in a social setting or in a work environment, in all forms of life. And so in my mind, again, looking through that management consulting lens, because this is what I do every day, it's also brought up again the importance of effective leadership. Because as your work environment changes, the leaders have to be in front of that and ahead of the curve as well. So with effective leadership, looking at it through the sporting lens and also the book that you've written as well, what are some of the fundamentals you'd say from your perspective that makes really strong leadership in an organization today?
I work with a lot of big companies and I work with small companies as well, small teams. When we talk about leadership, we talk about the number one, I think, characteristic is that you understanding that leadership is really you lead the ship and you are the ship. Your culture in your organization, in your team, is not going to skyride and take you to get that gold medal and be a championship organization until you yourself understand that you have to have a couple of characteristics that are really, really important. Number one, compassion. Compassion to understand that everyone in your team is at a different space, at a different place in their life with their mindset. So therefore, you have to meet them where they are. Don't meet them where you expect them to be. My coach.
Can you go back there for a second?
Yeah.
Meet them where they are. Don't meet them where you expect them to be, because that's quite profound.
So as a coach, because I've done a lot of coach. As a coach, sometimes you meet someone and they might say, "Look, I'm a CEO. I'm making X amount of dollars. I've got a boat and I've got a yacht and I've got all this kind of stuff and I'm fairly successful." And you would expect that person on an emotional and mental level to be strong and to be capable. So you might come at them in a way that you feel that they can handle, but maybe they've had relationship problems. Or maybe there's some stuff happening outside their life that has dented their confidence. Maybe they're holding on to something in their past that's keeping them from showing passion that they might have it. So you got to come to them and find out where they are. You have to coach them up so they can get to the level when then you can say, right, at this level, you're going to be able to help our organization. So compassion and empathy has to be the number one source of how you coach. But do you have that in it yourself?
Well said. And if you don't, but again, going back to that whole self-reflection piece.
Correct.
It's like the whole adage of fit your own mask first. And as a leader, we often forget about that, to make time for ourselves and create some white space is another thing we talk about, so that we can fit our own mask, be ready to then give to others as well, because it's hard to give when you haven't got much to give yourself.
At 14 years of age, when I first started playing basketball, I had never played before in my life. I had braces on my legs. I was fearful. I had no confidence. I was out of shape. And this tiny little short white man who lived in Beverly Hills had a brand new BMW. He said to me, "Listen, son, you got potential." I talked myself out of joining the team until he said this: "I will give you a ride home from practice every night and drive you into South Central Los Angeles. I will put my life on the line because I can see something in you that you can't see yourself." And he would drive me home every night at 9 o'clock at night, and I'd catch the bus in the morning to go back to school. And the more I did that, the more I realized that he had met me a place when I didn't feel good about myself, but he coached me up to a point where I felt so confident that now I began to see there's some improvement. I got to a place where I said, "You know what, coach? Don't worry about it. I'm cool. You don't have to give me a ride. I got this." So when we took
So he met you where you were.
he met me where I was. He met me at a place where he could see the potential. And I'm sure, the HR managers and CEO, they see that they've got the potential. But if they could just put themselves in a position where they can meet their staff and their team on the level where they're operating mentally and help them to raise that championship mindset level, then that's like contagious.
What you said there is also really important from a perspective of, is not from a leadership perspective or management perspective, it's just looking at the level of performance, but it's going deeper than that, especially today, again, the whole mental health, COVID, stress, and so on and so forth. What's actually happening behind the scenes is actually driving that behavior and in turn results.
Totally.
The other thing you've got to be thinking about from a leadership perspective in order to meet somebody where they are is that, again, the old adage of stop, observe, right, and then act after that, rather than just acting on what you see. Stop, observe, deduce, then act first.
I sold cars in Victoria for 3 years.
Again, not in the bio, but anyway, carry on.
I sold cars, and I didn't know anything about cars. Like, seriously, I did not know anything about cars. But the thing that I could do was I could communicate with people coming on the lot. I would identify with them and talk to them and communicate with them on a level that they knew that it wasn't about the car that I was selling. I was selling the benefit of something that they needed, but I was meeting them in a way that they realized that I actually cared about them getting what they needed to make their lives more complete. So I was a very good salesman. Technically, I didn't know a lot. And I find a lot of companies now maybe spend too much time trying to find the perfect salesperson who knows it all and who does it all. But when you look at your team, you need to have people in the team who have character, who have good communication skills, who are compassionate and are consistently working on themselves, and who are willing to not put I first. See, there's no I in team.
It's 4 C's though, and what you just said there.
That's
Love
right.
it.
Yeah, that's right. So when we look at the whole coaching, the coaching angle, it's all about cultivating a culture in your organization where your team are all working on the same page, but that same page is about elevating each other and not just that one individual.
There's another idea for your next book.
Yes.
5 C's in leadership. I think you mentioned 6 there all up, actually, so we'll talk about that after.
Well, I've actually started working on that, and I've got something I'm going to give you.
Yeah, okay, good. Yeah. So going back to talking about effective leadership, one of the things that's also become very, very challenging during the whole COVID period is finding and retaining top talent.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that we've spoken about in the past is your belief that leaders in business should see themselves as coaches of teams. Can you elaborate a bit more on that?
Every team that I was in, I played in many professional and amateur and high school basketball teams. The teams that were really, 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 really successful did not have a team full of the best talent. We had a team of 3 or 4 high caliber, efficient talent, but everybody else, they played their part. They were willing to do the little thing. They're willing to do the dirty things. So if you look at the NBA championship that just went by now, the Milwaukee Bucks won that championship. Small market team. They only had one superstar. The other teams in the NBA who had 3 superstars, I'm talking about guys who were making, 40, 50 million a year.
Wow.
This team only had one superstar. Everybody else was good, but they played as a unit. They didn't care who got the accolades. What they cared about was everybody do their job. So when you start to recruit, when you're looking at the people you're bringing in, ask them some pointed questions, about how hard are you willing to work? Or would you be the first one here and the last one to go? Like, do I always have to pat you on the back? Like, do you always have to see your name in lights? Will you step on somebody to get where you want to go? And when you start filtering and getting a group of players around you like that, as a coach, it makes it very, very easy to then monitor and then manage your organization.
I like what you said there. So one of the other things that I took out of the conversation that we had last time when we talked about the same topic was what we call at Barclay, which is a recruitment company that's also part of the Verity Group. We talk about strategic resource planning.
Yeah.
So it's kind of getting towards the end of the season, looking at next season and looking at all the players that are available, how they performed in that previous season to go, okay, well, who am I going to trade and who am I going to buy for the following season, so on and so forth. So I thought that's a really good way of looking at it, especially through a seasonal perspective as well, as a leader thinking about a coach. And then the other one, and as you just said there, you can't have it's very rare that you have a full team of highly capable performing individuals. And often if you do, you can create inner conflict as well, because everyone wants to keep a space.
Everybody wants the ball. Everybody wants the ball. And if everybody wants the ball, then that means everybody's not willing to do the stuff to get you the ball.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So then it comes down to effective leadership,
Correct.
right? It is, again, meeting the rest of the players, meeting everyone, but in particular the other players where they are, and then bringing them back.
Coach, you want to coach up, right? But the good leadership and all that comes basically from the top. It's filtering your own characteristics. It's filtering your own ability to lead and to manage. It's filtering your own ability to look at your team and show the kind of example that's required so that they can see, right, this is how we want our organization to be.
Love it. So if we can change gears slightly, keeping with the same analogy, what if we as leaders look at ourselves as the athlete? Because again, as we said before, the tagline to your book is living your own personal best. So if we change things and look at ourselves as the athlete to deliver our own personal best, both for ourselves, for our families, and also for our teams that we have, what are some advice points you got on that?
That's so easy. I'm glad you asked that question. So what's happening in the Olympics right now? Those athletes train 5, 10, 15, maybe 20 years to get the opportunity to represent their country, go to the Olympics, and win a gold. And they did all of that. They get over there, and what happens? There are no fans. There's no audience. There's no noise. There's no one supporting them. So right now, they have to draw from within that, okay, I put all the work. It doesn't matter if there's anyone here. Now I have to bring my A game. So there's 3 things that they're going to have to do every single event. Same thing that we have to do in business. Number 1, you have to show up for success. Get out of your bed and expect something good to happen. Expect that you're going to get good results. Expect that that great client is walking in the door. Expect that that phone call that you get is not going to be rejection. It's going to be a sale. Expect that somebody in your office, you're going to be able to walk over to them, look them in the eye, and say something positive and effective, and it's going to brighten their day. That's the first thing you have to do.
I love what you said there's a mental creation, right?
It is. It's all
Stephen
mental.
Covey talks about mental creation before physical creation.
Right.
So mentally, you already sort of get up, number 1. I love what you said.
Yeah.
Secondly, live in that space mentally before you live in it physically.
That's right. Number 2, you have to increase your appetite for learning. Increase your appetite for personal development. Increase your appetite for working on your mental capacity. Increase your appetite for working on your relationships. Increase your appetite for what you can do to the community. Because the more that you can learn, right, the more that you will earn. So therefore, it's important that you're always working on yourself. And the third one, we all have to do it, is stop sleeping with the enemy.
That's a movie, isn't it?
It might be a movie, but I've
What do you mean by that?
Okay, so every night when you go to bed, there are 2 of us that you're lying down with. You're lying down with positive you,
Right.
and you're lying down with negative you. If you go to bed being negative you, worried about corona, lockdowns, restrictions, worried about what happened at work, worried about all the negative stuff, all of that filters into your subconscious. When you go to sleep and you get into dream mode, your conscious mind stops. You can't control it. Your subconscious now conjures up everything that you were thinking about for 3 or 4 hours before you went to sleep. You wonder why you don't sleep at night? Because you're nervous, you're worried, you're in agony, you're in pain. You start the next day. Who do you start with? You don't start with positive you start with negative you. And when you start with negative you, when you go to work, what are you expecting? Negative things to happen. What do you get? Negative stuff.
Well said. I love that. And the thing is, you can influence the thoughts that you have before you go to sleep. You can't influence the dreams. It's too late because it's your subconscious.
That's right.
Which makes it so much harder to do what you said at the start, which is to get up the next morning and to live in that positive mental space before you then even get into the real world after that.
Right. Visualization. So last night I had a late gig on the Sunshine Coast. I got home around 12. I'm in bed and I'm thinking, I'm really, really, really tired. I don't want to get up in the morning. But then I thought about something. Today, I have a chance to do something to change the lives of other people. So it's not about me. So I actually got excited. So therefore, I changed my mindset. I was able to go to sleep visualizing me with my audience today, visualizing the way they were going to feel when I was speaking, visualizing how they're going to walk away and they were going to be taking some things that they could go back to the office and implement in their office that very day.
Love it. And here we are today.
And here we are today.
Well done, mate.
I'm ready to go. I'm ready. I'm fired up, man. Where the people at? Where the people at? Where the people at?
Fantastic. I love it. Hey, one last thing I want to talk to you about before we wrap up. We spoke about mental health a few times. So COVID's done great things for some businesses. I'm thinking there's some hand sanitizing producers out there who are absolutely coining it. But it's been very traumatic for a lot of companies out there and individuals in particular. And the one common theme throughout that journey has been, again, that space between our ears, right? Can you leave us with some final tips, habits, techniques, I guess we can all implement on a day-to-day basis to help us with that mental space and to maintain a positive outlook on things?
Okay. The number one thing that we all must do is develop a good mental routine. That mental routine will consist of what you do the first thing that you wake up in the morning.
Right.
It's listen to a really good positive podcast, meditate, go for a walk. I know in some places you got a 5-kilometer radius, but you can still walk around that. So you want to get yourself into a right frame of mind, that you're breathing and have some affirmations and really start thinking about, okay, gratitude's important. Be grateful that, yes, your situation might not be the best, but there are other people out there whose situation is much, much worse.
Perspective almost, right?
Perspective. So therefore, hopefully that will give you a sense of, okay, all right, I'm here. And then the second thing that you must do is you must have some sort of a plan that's going to allow you to do some things that when the lockdown is over, when it's finished, restrictions are lifted, that this plan that you put in place, it's going to springboard you forward without you having to then all of a sudden think about what you're going to do. So you still need to be able to be doing some things that's going to bring you to a better place. And the third thing is very tough, more so for men. That is, make sure that you can talk to someone who that you can get your feelings and emotions out and don't harbor those inside. The suicide rate, self-harm is at an all-time rate, even in schools. I went to a school and spoke to some students a couple of weeks ago, and they were telling me about a student that just committed suicide, 16 years of age.
Wow.
And I'm thinking, okay, maybe if we talked more and got our feelings out to a qualified person or somebody who you can trust, at least that way you're getting how you're feeling out, which allows you to de-stress yourself. Those are just 3 things that I would say off the top of my head, which I have done in my situation in 2020, that has allowed me to breathe easier, to feel better about myself and to go about.
Fantastic. I love everything you said. Luke, thank you so much for spending the time with us today.
Thank you.
I'm not going to change that. Thank you so much for investing the time with us today. It's much appreciated. So if anybody wants to reach out to you personally, have some further conversations with you, is there a way for people to do that?
Yeah, very easy. So you can hit me up on my website, ericbaileyglobal.com. You can email me, eric@ericbaileyglobal.com. I'm on Facebook. You can buy my book online. All my details are in there. So I'm very visible on social media, so you can find me.
Fantastic. We're going to have the links to everything that you just said there at the bottom of this clip as well.
Yep.
So if anybody missed that watching this, they can actually grab it from there also.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that we all tend to forget sometimes is that world-class athletes are also just human beings. And when I reached out to Eric, I actually looked on his website, saw a phone number, and I called him. You know what? He actually answered. And we had a great conversation, and here we are today. So please, 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 if you are looking to increase your performance, take the next step in your career or in life for that matter, or if you find yourself in any position of potential mental harm or self-harm, please, whether it's reaching out to Eric or reaching out to one of the many helplines that are out there, which again we'll have at the bottom of this clip, to look out for that, please make sure you reach out because you are not alone. Eric, thank you very much. What have I got here?
You got the C's on the back.
Ah, fantastic.
You got other side. You've got the C's.
Confidence, compassion, consistency, character, courageous. I thought we were going to do a book here. What are you?
We are.
Okay.
I'm just preempting it, man. I'm just preempting it.
Fantastic. And this is available on your website as well?
It will be,
more
yes.
information? It's coming out?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you again for mentioning the book. I noticed there's a card there as well you've got next to you with the reframing of the SMART goals.
Yes.
So again, we'll have all this information available for anybody who's interested, along with the link to your current book. So again, congratulations on your success. Congratulations on your journey.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for the time again today. Until the next time, we'll talk soon.
Thank you.
Oh, man.
Thanks, Australia, the world.